Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of our new Disney Cruise Line show. I'm your host, Pete Werner, and I am joined at the table today by my good friends, Mr. Steve Porter.
Hello.
And his lovely wife and a Dreams Unlimited travel agent, Michaela Porter.
Hi.
And back in the production nook, I don't know if he's on camera or not, he's not, Craig Williams, back from vacation. Thank God, thank God, thank God. I can't live without my Craig. I always appreciate him, but never more so than when he goes on vacation. So welcome, everybody. This was actually something I have been talking about doing a Disney Cruise Line show for, well, a while. And then when I was on the Wonder out of San Juan this past January, I really was like, okay, I really want to do a Disney Cruise Line show because I am in love with, I've been in love with the product from day one. It's gone through its ups and downs. I'm happy to say it's definitely on an upswing. And so when we got notice of the 2020 cruises, summer 2020 cruises being released, I thought Steve had the idea this would be a good time.
Yeah, you said, well, what should we do? We got to talk about this. And I said, well, why don't we go out live? And originally we were going to go live on Facebook. So sorry if you got, because there was some social media sent out saying this was going to be on Facebook, but with some technological difficulties.
And if Craig hadn't been on vacation, he would have been able to tell us
fault.
That we're not ready to, the studio isn't really set up to go out on live on Facebook.
The things we don't know when Craig's on vacation.
He texted me this morning. He's like, "Are you doing this from your phone? What are you doing?" I'm like, "No, I'm going to do it from the studio." I'm like, he's like, "No, you're not."
Try again.
So yeah, we obviously big deal whenever Disney Cruise Line does a new release. And we knew that I was actually expecting this about a week ago, but it's here now. So today is Platinum Castaway Club members. Mm-hmm. Hi. Can book tomorrow. It's Platinum and Gold. On March 6th, Wednesday, will be Platinum, Gold, and Silver. March 7th, these open to everyone.
DVC can book on the 6th, too.
And Disney Vacation Club.
Adventures by Disney Insiders.
Oh, so if I wasn't a Platinum, I'd be able to book on the 6th.
Yeah, you've got them all covered.
I've got them all covered now.
You can book every day of the week, Pete. A new cruise every day.
The last bastion for me was Disney Vacation Club, which I'm a member. I now check all the boxes. So when I log into my Disney experience and it shows my memberships, it's like really cool. Sorry, that's bragging. I'm sorry.
Feel free. I mean, might as well.
Yeah, right. Okay. But one of the two big things to come out of this announcement for 2020, they're returning to the Greek Isles for the first time in several years.
Disney Magic.
5 years, yeah.
That's the ship, yeah.
Yeah, the Disney Magic. That's what goes out of the Mediterranean.
Come on, get with it.
And the Adventures by Disney add-ons for Caribbean cruises, which is not something they've done before. They've done ABD add-ons for Alaska. They've always done ABD add-ons for the Mediterranean. I've done those. But this is now a new thing where they're going to be doing them for the Caribbean. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So it has been 5 years since the Magic went to Greece. They are going to... Oh, Lord, I'm going to have to pronounce these names.
Oh, good luck.
Gdynia, Poland? Oh, for the love of God.
It's a Norway location.
Nordfjorded in Norway. Plymouth, England. Thank you, England, for naming things I can pronounce. And Zeebrugge, Belgium. And we are starting to see now, today, the early first-tier pricing on these. And, it's not a surprise to me, per se, that the Mediterranean cruises are, without doubt, the most expensive that Disney does. But it is also telling that they are trying to take advantage of the Greece cruises, because the prices on these Greek cruises are are up there. Michaela's been putting together some of those numbers. What are you seeing, Michaela?
So the 9-night that leaves on the 13th is starting at $10,000. This is for a party of 4 adults.
The 13th of what?
13th of June, sorry. Then the one leaving on the 22nd of June, so just the next 9-night right after it, is about $600 more. So there's quite a big difference in price there. To compare those to the Mediterranean that doesn't include Greece, it is a 7-night, so hard to compare the 7 and 9-night, but that one starts at $79 for a party of 4. So there's definitely a jump from
there's no question
the Greece ones.
The Greek cruises are I mean, look, all Disney cruises are at a premium. The Greek cruises are extra premium. And, you know, but the bottom line is they sell them out.
Is it often, or is this because there's only so many of them?
Yeah, like they only have 3 that include the Greek Isles.
Yeah.
There's 2 9s and a 10. Let me check. 2 9s for sure. I think it's a 12 maybe.
So it's just by demand.
But I mean, look at this.
Yeah, 2 9s and a 12 nighter.
Okay, so a 12. I've got pricing from one of our other agents, Mike Fanucci. He priced out a 12-night Greek Isles cruise.
Is this the big one?
No.
Oh.
Well, I mean, there are some. Oh yes. I'm looking at the Royal Suite.
This morning I was like, oh my gosh.
The Royal Suite on this one.
Just wait till you hear this.
So, 12-night Greek Isles, July 1st. He says, I had to take pause. This is for 2 adults and 1 child age 7. And inside, 11B stateroom, $11,337.
Yeah.
An ocean view 9A stateroom with the porthole, so it's not a veranda, $15,542. A category 4A veranda, the family staterooms, which a little bit larger, $26,000.
That's one stateroom.
Now go up to concierge, and now it just gets stupid. There's a 12-night sailing in July. Category V, which is the deluxe veranda stateroom.
Yeah, concierge level.
Concierge level deluxe veranda stateroom. $39,916.
A teacher's salary.
Or you could go into the Royal Suite, the Walt or the Roy Suites, on the Magic for a cool $91,000.
So I've got that same one pulled up for 4 adults right now, and pricing's different because there's more people, but it's $98,000. You add insurance to that, and you are going to be over $100,000 for 12 nights.
Yeah, I mean, so
Man.
it really is. I mean, when you talk about these Greek Isle cruises, we're looking at
selling out. Some of the categories are already gone for this stateroom.
Yeah,
or this
and that's why, you know, people are like, well, how can they get away with this? Because people will pay it.
Yeah,
people will pay it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any 10As left.
You know, I'm nobody's definition of a cheap date when I'm on vacation, but because I was looking this morning, I'm like, no, I can't.
Yeah, it's insane.
Just to be in a veranda stateroom, a 5A on some of these, you're talking $20,000.
Yeah,
that's so crazy.
And I just can't justify, you know, personally, $20,000 for a 7-night sailing. But
talking about the Greek ones being that much more expensive, though, the 11-night Northern Europe leaving on July 25th is only about $500, starting at $500 less than that 12-night Greek. So it's really not that much cheaper than the Greece
looking
one.
at Allison Raver, another Dreams agent, sent me 9-night Mediterranean cruise at Greek Isles, 3 adults, category 9B, $92.75. Now that's a little bit more reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, everything is more reasonable after $100,000. But you know, it's.
So someone on the boards, Glam Mistress, says that this is before pricing came out. So I'd be curious to see a follow-up on the boards as what she has to say now. Or I'm assuming it's a she because it's Mistress. But she says that she's interested in the Greece or Norway cruises, but it will come down to price for her. She says she can do Greece on Royal Caribbean for probably half of the cost of Disney. So she needs to sit down and think about it. So, yeah,
this is something I wanted to talk about because this is something we hear a lot. And look, I like Royal Caribbean. Generally, they're newer ships. I like. They're older ships. I will not go back on them personally. I know John and Kevin feel very differently about that, and I respect their opinion. My experiences on those older ships, and that's what's usually what's sailing out of the Med, are their older ships, and I don't really care for those. There is, comparing Royal Caribbean and Disney Cruise Line is like comparing a Toyota to a Cadillac.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded every single time I go on the ships, the level of quality that we are talking about on a Disney Cruise Line is just hard to match. And like, okay, I was on the Wonder in January, and this is an older ship. I mean, this ship's been around, 20 years? Thing looks as new as the day it was built. Then you talk about, the service on the, oh my God.
Yeah.
Everywhere, I don't care who you're interacting with. The service was unbelievable, and I gotta say, the food on that sailing, I've never been a fan of the food on the older ships. Restaurant quality food at virtually every meal.
Yeah.
Then you talk about the entertainment. You talk about, so there, yeah, I mean, can you go to these ports on other cruise lines for less? Yeah. There's no question.
Yeah.
But there has to be that consideration of the value. And look, and that's not a consideration for everybody. For some people, they really don't care about the service, the entertainment, the food, things like that. Not they don't care, but it's not as big a factor for them as it would be for others. For me, it is. For me, that is a big factor. I like that Disney experience. Mm-hmm. And
also just knowing that they're going to take care of you.
With everything.
Yeah.
With everything.
It's for a lot of people, it's worth the peace of mind just to book with Disney, even if you could do the same cruise for a lot cheaper, because you have the peace of mind and they're going to take care of you no matter what, and it's a good investment.
I guess for some it's just if that standard doesn't matter to them and they get it for half the cost and they get to see all these places, then Now
the last Mediterranean cruise I did was 2011 with the ABD add-on. So it was, 8 years ago. And yes, it was expensive. It was very expensive. But I still, every time I think of that experience, there's a warmth. It was so amazing.
Yeah.
It was so amazing. The ABD component was amazing. So at the time, I'm looking at that price and I'm going, eesh. But now I stop and think about it, and I look back at it, and I say, it was worth every penny. It was worth every penny.
There are very few people who come back from a Disney cruise and say it wasn't worth it.
Right. But even like, we're talking right now about these European cruises. I was actually seeing some really good stuff. I don't have it in front of me, but I was seeing some really good pricing out of Dover in September for a Northern European cruise. I was surprised at how comparatively reasonable those sailings were versus what I was looking at.
Let's see.
On the Caribbean, or out of Barcelona, or the Barcelona ones are a little better. Barcelona Med is a little better than the ones coming out of Civitavecchia or Rome. The Rome ones, those are the ones I think doing the Greek Isles. They're coming out of Rome.
Yes.
And the pricing on those, is definitely at a premium. But I was
September. Europe ones aren't bad. The 7-night on September 6th starts at $4,088, and the 5-night on September 13th starts at $3,078. That's for 2 adults inside staterooms. But,
that's going out of Dover?
Both from Dover.
And what's the itinerary on that?
Let's see. The 7-night starts in Dover, Plymouth, Cork, Ireland, Liverpool, Greenock, which is Glasgow, and Edinburgh, Dublin, day at sea, and then Dover. So it's got a lot of ports. There's only 1 day at sea in all those 7 days.
1 day in sea, and it's hitting the... Okay, I may have to pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, that's a great itinerary. And then the 5-night...
What's the... I'm sorry, what's the... You're literally selling me on this as we're sitting here.
Okay, well, you know who to call for your travel agent.
Right.
Just kidding.
what's a veranda?
Veranda. So 4A, the most expensive veranda is $8,007.78.
Like the 5 though. Like the 5. Even the Navigator is fine.
So cheapest veranda is $5,977.
You know what's sold?
A 5 is like $6,400.
That I think.
That's a great itinerary.
That's
One
a
day
great,
at sea. That's awesome.
Great itinerary, and you know what? Put a pin in that one. I want to do that one. I think. I've been wanting to do the ones out of Dover.
The 5 night's cool too. The 5 night is Dover, Netherlands, Belgium, and then an overnight in France, in Paris. Wait, an overnight in Paris?
Your heart just you just want.
Can you do those back to back?
Oh, maybe.
All right, we'll talk about that after the show.
We'll go together. We could leave Steve here to run the show.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we'll do a girls trip.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm in. So, not surprised at the price points.
Yeah.
But let's switch over to the Caribbean. Let's talk about what we're seeing for these. Obviously these prices comparatively to what we're just talking about come back to earth.
Yeah. Only about $98,000 less than the
exactly.
night Greeks. So.
Just driving the point home for those who don't know, the reason this is important when these releases come out, the reason people go nuts, this is the cheapest these prices are going to be. As these ships fill up, as these categories fill up, the prices go up. So your platinum, which means you've done 10 sailings or more on Disney, you get first dibs at this.
Yep.
If you're gold, which is 5 sailings, at 5 sailings you become gold, or after your 5th sailing.
Yeah, so after your 5th, so technically 6.
And then DVC members can book on that that day.
Golden Oak and ABD Insiders.
And then silver is...
Oh, no, sorry, DVC and everyone is on Silver Day.
Oh, okay. And then silver is after your first cruise, you're silver.
Yeah.
So that's why, the Platinum Castaway Club, they get first dibs on the best prices. But now let's move over to the Caribbean. And Beth Zada has been with Dreams for 1,000 years. But she looks like she's only been here for a month because she started when she was 19. 5-night fantasy, category 4E. That's the family stateroom.
Yep.
2 adults, $2,500.
What date?
25/19. September 24th.
Yeah.
And same thing in the category 4D, $2,654. So that's on a 5-night Caribbean. What are you seeing?
Is that on the Dream?
That would be on the Dream, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, fantasy. That's a special one in the fantasy.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing too. Before we continue, a lot of people on the boards are talking about this too. The fantasy doing the shorter cruises. A lot of discussion on that. People, Scooter Scott 44 says, with fantasy switching to many shorter Bahama cruises into August and September, does this indicate sailings for the new ships? Other people are saying they're quite surprised that the fantasy cruises were cut down to 5 days or less. Some are excited because this is an opportunity for them to go on the fantasy if they are, if the fantasy usually does the 7-day cruises or 7-night cruises. So, this is the opportunity for them to get on this ship if they don't have the time or the money necessarily to go on a super long cruise.
Right. And let me just, for those who may be, new to Disney Cruise Line, kind of explain how this works. You have the Magic and the Wonder, which are the classic ships as they're referred to. Those are the original 2 that came online back in the late 90s. And I think Magic came online in 2001. The Wonder was first, then the Magic.
No, the Magic, then the Wonder. I'm pretty sure. Magic, then
Was it Magic Wonder?
Yeah.
Because I remember when when they started doing the 7-night sailings was in 2000 on the Magic. So that's why I thought that the Magic. Okay, well, regardless, they're the classic ships. My lack of brain cells notwithstanding. Then the Dream and the Fantasy are the newer ships. The Magic and the Wonder do a lot of special itineraries. So that's what you'll see. The Wonder going out of Vancouver for the Alaska cruises, also doing stuff on the West Coast. Magic is usually down in Miami. Am I right on that? Yeah.
Yeah, in the winter, and then the summers it does.
It does. It does the
Transatlantic
and the Mediterranean. Well, let's talk about Transatlantic, because oftentimes, you want to do a long cruise to Europe for relatively.
Yeah, I'm always shocked how.
What is it?
Less,
let's see what the Transatlantics are going for while we're talking about it. Now, these are long cruises. These are usually 14 nights.
Yeah.
As the ship repositions from the east coast of the United States over to Barcelona. And it's a long time to be on a ship.
Yeah, there's a lot of sea days on this one.
But they really pull out all the stops in terms of entertainment and activities on the ship.
Well, yeah, if you're going to be on any cruise line and you're going to be on any ship for that long, Disney's got to be the way that you do Transatlantic, because
I wouldn't be on another ship for that long, especially not a ship that had a casino, because
you'd be bankrupt.
I'd be bankrupt by the time we got to.
Yeah, so it's May 11th this year, and it's a 12-night eastbound transatlantic from Miami to Barcelona, starting at $3,988 for 2 adults.
Think about that.
14 nights. I mean,
and that's 14 nights of hotel room, food included, and then you go to Barcelona, and you're doing a one-way flight back from Barcelona.
It's about $150 per person for just the cruise fare. I mean, that doesn't include the taxes and gratuities and everything, but
$150 per person per night.
Per night, yeah. But I mean, that's
like a hotel room.
Yeah, I don't know that you could go to Disney World for that cheap for that long.
No, you certainly.
I'm bad at math, but
no, you couldn't. You couldn't.
But to be fair, there are 3. There's 3 ports, not including Miami and Barcelona, so technically 5, and the rest are all sea days.
Yeah.
So you go to Portugal, 2 stops in Portugal, and then Spain, another stop in Spain, Barcelona, and
that's
Miami.
all on the back end too. So
yes, you have 1, 2, 3, 6 sea days right first. So
6 sea days.
If you get stir crazy, maybe not for you.
I'm going to tell you what, though, that sounds really appealing to me. That sounds really, I maybe, I don't know, but. So you've got the Magic and the Wonder doing those itineraries, and then based out of Port Canaveral, you have the Dream and the Fantasy. Mm-hmm. The Dream doing 3 and 4 night sailings. The Fantasy normally does 7. Now, what we're talking about here is that there are some sailings, and it's not the first time they've done this. I did a 5-night on the Dream with 2 stops at Castaway Cay on the Fantasy last June with 2 stops at Castaway Cay. Those sailings are very popular.
Oh yeah.
When they stop at Castaway twice.
We keep getting distracted, but speaking of 2 stops at Castaway, did you see the 3-night with the overnight in Castaway?
No.
Yeah, how awesome is that?
Oh.
It's on the Dream, just a 3-night, 2 days back-to-back at Castaway.
Well, and what Steve was just talking about, the comment on the boards with the September sailing, with there being these 5-night sailings in the Fantasy. We have new ships, 3 new ships or 4? 3. 3 new ships coming on over in the next 5 years. And I think one of them getting ready to launch in 2021.
I think the very end
and
of 2021.
What we think is that Disney is testing out potential itineraries that might work. So they're trying to see operationally what these 5-night sailings are. Because if you think about it, you've got 3, 4, and 7 really coming out of Port Canaveral. You got 3, 4, and 7. And they dip their toe in the water with these 5-night cruises.
Yeah, they're hard to find.
They do them, but they're hard to come by. So I'm wondering if at least one ship won't be designated almost like a 5-day sailing
rotation.
ship.
Yeah,
On a 5-day
and people love the 5 nights because you take your one work week off, and if it gets a weekend, then you only have to take a couple days vacation.
Right.
Yeah, people love them.
And
because if you're flying from like California to do a cruise out of Florida, you don't want to be on the ship for 3 or 4 nights. It's too fast.
Right.
You turn around and 3 minutes later you're back on a plane.
Well, I mean, 3 nights. I've always said to people, if you've never done a cruise before and you don't know if you're going to like it, do the 3 night.
Start. Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's a great to piggyback onto a Disney World trip.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It makes it easier to do that land sea where you're 4 days at World, 3 days on a cruise, and vice versa on a 4-night sailing, which really is what I prefer. I want that 1 day at sea. Honestly, on the 4-night sailings, I don't get off the ship because I'm not other than Castaway Cay, I'm not a fan of Nassau. I think a lot of people aren't fans of Nassau. Whereas any other itinerary, I find this hysterical. Any other itinerary, port days, the ship is empty.
Yeah.
Nassau, not so much.
It's funny. On our last sailing, we got off at Nassau, and we were off the ship for we went into like 1 or 2 stores, and then you're like, okay, we're done here, and we just went back. We packed our stuff.
We didn't even get off. We spent the day in the rainforest room.
Yeah.
To be fair, we had just been in Nassau on our honeymoon, but
So-
unless you're not doing Atlantis.
If you're not doing Atlantis, like if you're doing Atlantis has a really fun water park, and that's a whole other thing. But if you're not doing that, I mean,
So that's kind of how they break up. So that's what we think might be happening.
Wasn't someone saying that they think the Dream's going to dry dock too?
yeah.
On the
So that
boards?
might be part of it. So yes, it could be that they're testing out the schedules, but it also these shorter cruises are way more profitable for Disney, and so it could be that they're just, since the Dream's going to be out of commission for a little bit, let's still make our money and get the Fantasy to do these shorter cruises.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about a little bit more about the Caribbean, because the other big announcement was that Adventures by Disney would be doing add-ons for Caribbean cruises. This has been a staple of the Alaska cruises and the Med cruises. This is the first time. Next year is the first time they'll be doing them, going to the Caribbean. So let me explain, just to those who don't know, what we're talking about with an Adventures by Disney add-on. Adventures by Disney is Disney's touring company, and you can go all over the world with them, and I have, and it's amazing. It's an amazing product. They started, I want to say, it's got to be about 10 years now since they started doing these ABD add-ons with the cruise. And basically what that is, for an extra amount of money, rather than booking your own shore excursions, Adventures by Disney handles them. So you have 2 adventure guides with you on the cruise, and they will do some things on the ship, but generally speaking, there's not a lot for them to do on the ship. The guides are there to help with anything. It's when it's time to go see these ports. And then Adventures by Disney sets up the itinerary, and all you do is show up. They handle everything. And they tend to do things that not only usually aren't available via shore excursions on the ship, but they tend to do things that no other tour company gets to do. We had an experience, I'll give you an example, in Sicily on our Mediterranean cruise, where back in the old days, Italy was not a country. Italy was a series of city-states, basically. And each one of them had their own kings, their own royal family. And we got a chance to visit with the ancestors of the Sicilian royal family.
Wow.
That's really cool.
In their palazzo, in their palace. And they gave us a tour, and it was really, again, and that is something, I don't know if they still do it, but that was something done exclusively by and for Adventures by Disney. And they always try and find these components and these things when they do it, when they do these add-ons. But talk to me about what's involved with the ABDs.
So this is the Western Caribbean one. First year welcome reception is at Remy, I believe, for Eastern and Western. The thing that I think is really cool, you get to go behind the scenes of the show on board. So I think it's Aladdin on the Fantasy right now. Get to go behind the scenes and see the costumes and everything. That's really cool. Looks like they had like a meet and greet with your adventure guide. Then when you're actually in the ports, they've got a Mayan cacao experience.
I'm sorry, let me just interrupt you for a second. Just got a text from Teresa. Teresa Eccles was on that.
This is going to be good.
She was on that. She was, her Walter and I went on that Mediterranean sailing. And she must be watching, because she just said, best day ever, Sicily.
Oh, that's really cool.
We had such a great time on that trip. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
So then you're sailing to El Silo, and I'm probably butchering these. It's a sandbar, lunch at the beach. Then in the Grand Cayman, you can either pick to go to the mangroves or do a glass bottom boat. That's cool. Lunch at the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman, which would be pretty cool.
So far, everything you're saying is stuff I can do without ABD.
Yeah.
Except the reception at Remy and the behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. So then like group A and B switch, so someone else does the glass bottom and then the mangroves in the afternoon. Jamaica, a plantation tour, cultural experience, lunch at Bunkers Hill, river tubing on the Martha Brae River. So those are the Caribbean ports, and they're I don't know.
That
I'm not sold on it yet.
that one, yeah, I'll be honest. That
But
one for me.
so this is
we're
the
talking
Western.
about we don't have exact pricing, but it's about $3,000 plus.
Yeah, $2,500
per person added onto your cruise fare for this.
The stuff at Castaway is cool. You get to get off the boat early. The
Ship.
Excuse me. The ship early. I was looking at the glass bottom boat. So for all your rentals are included. So like the paddle boards and everything, snorkels and everything that you can rent at.
And they're doing the private barbecue.
Yeah, private lunch. There's hair braiding, cocktail making, a mixologist, and a masseuse on your little private lunch. So that's the Western. I don't think I would do the Western.
Well, I won't. Look, I'll be honest with you. I despise the Western Caribbean itineraries. I've done them many, many times. That's part of it. But I'm just being, personally, I'm not saying anything about anybody. The ports on the Western Caribbean, on Disney or anybody else, just hold no appeal for me at all.
I agree.
There's no appeal for me. Eastern Caribbean and Southern Caribbean, that's a different story. But if they handed me a free Western Caribbean, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not ponying up any cash for Western Caribbean.
So, I mean, I don't mean to derail the conversation. But
Well, don't derail the conversation. Let's.
Okay, well, it's about Nassau. Apparently, the State Department has issued a serious warning to travel to Nassau right now. So, take that for what it is.
For what reason?
I don't know. This is just from the comment section. I'll do some researching. You guys continue to discuss.
Always derailing.
Yeah, it's if you go like to bad areas of Nassau, they warn you
Off the
that
beaten
you could
Nassau
be
path.
robbed, molested, like anything like that.
That's everything.
No. I've never had an issue with.
Yeah.
So, I've never had an issue with. I never felt unsafe in Nassau. I just don't like it. But Eastern Caribbean, for my money, is the place to go.
Well, the Eastern ABD add-on sounds pretty cool. So island hopping through the British Virgin Islands, visiting the baths on Virgin Gorda, picnic lunch somewhere in there.
The island hopping through the British Virgin Islands is really appealing to me.
Yeah. These are busy, busy days, though. So that's in Tortola. Then St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. You visit the Shipwreck Pirate Museum. I think they said there's like a authentic pirate ship battle. I don't really know what that is, but it sounds cool. St. Thomas Island Safari Tour, pirate ship harbor battle, lunch on Honeymoon Beach, and then your own time on Honeymoon Beach. We went there on our honeymoon.
Actual honeymoon?
Yeah, and Honeymoon Beach is beautiful. And I think they have like rentals and stuff there as well. Sounds like. Then you get the same behind the scenes tour, the same welcome dinner at Remy, and then you're the same thing at Castaway Cay. So this one sounds a lot more appealing than the Western to me.
That one sounds a lot more appealing to me than the Western one.
I mean, it sounds like you're getting your money's worth. They've got a ton of stuff to do. The sea days, there's not anything on the ship on the sea days, which I kind of wish they'd do something. But
like I said, the Eastern one was more appealing than the Western for me. But there's still no like one thing or multiple things where I say, okay, that really is not an experience I could have on my own. So again, when we're talking about the Caribbean, just the Caribbean sailings themselves on Disney are not inexpensive.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of those prices. Did we talk about that already?
We talked about some of the September pricing. So the difference between a 5-night and a 7-night in September. So the 7-night on September 12th starts at $31, and the 5-night on September 19th, so the sailing right after, starts at $21. So that's $1,000 difference for 2
How about
days.
if we wanted to go take a look back, like maybe June, July time frame, when a lot of families with kids are doing those sailings. And we're talking about that. I'm just trying to keep up with my little script here. Yeah, somebody mentioned on the boards too that they were surprised that they were doing the ABD add-ons for Alaska because they had dropped it for a while because of lack of interest. Now they're bringing it back.
Yeah.
So I wonder what they're going to be doing differently.
So the June 7-night. June is 3 7-nights and then 1 9-night. 7 nights are quite a bit more expensive than they were in September.
Well, yeah,
starting at $5,000 for the June 6th sailing for an inside stateroom. This is for 2 adults. The The June 20th looks like it's the most expensive 7-night in June, starting at $5,600. That 9-night that's in June starts at $74. The 9-night has a cool itinerary.
But those prices are really kind of consistent with what we see generally from
they haven't
Disney
changed a whole bunch.
on the 7-night sailings in the summer. Obviously, when the kids are out of school,
Yep.
those prices spike. But that's the case everywhere.
Disney
here.
World,
That's
everywhere.
that's Disney.
That's
but-
vacationing. I mean, I feel like any vacation destination is probably going to be more expensive.
So obviously, our doing this show is not going to be all talking pricing. We're doing that today because of the 2020
Brand new, yeah.
2020 sailings are now released, and wanted to kind of give people a feel as to what we were seeing in these early pricing. I will say that Dover one and the Transatlantic one are really talking to me right now. They're really talking to me right now. Craig, you want to go? Yeah. Just you and me?
Sure.
I thought we were doing a girls' trip.
You can do.
Okay, you can take him on the Transatlantic. We'll
Okay, I'll take him on the Transatlantic, and you'll... and honestly, for me, any excuse to get back to England,
Yeah.
any excuse, I will take any excuse to go to England that I can find. But want to know what you would like to hear from us for future episodes. We're going to be doing this as a regular series of shows. But let us know what you would like us to talk about. Podcast at disunplugged.com. You can certainly leave them in the comments down below this. I'm really excited about Dover.
Pete's going to walk back to his office and book himself
I
on
am
this cruise right
really
now.
going to probably do that. But I'm also thinking about that Transatlantic. I'm
Have you ever been on a Transatlantic?
I have never done it because I always thought to myself that it would be too long on the ship. But when I was doing the San Juan sailing, which I highly recommend the whole San Juan experience, I had no idea how gorgeous San Juan was. Absolutely fell in love with San Juan. And that sailing was, the itinerary was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. But while I was on that, I'm like, you know what? I think I could. I think I could do 12 nights. And just, it seems like the only time I really relax anymore is when I do a cruise. There's something about it that, and I don't do a lot on the ships. I'm not one of those guys who's, highlighting everything in the navigator, and I got to go do this, and I am all about my stateroom and the spa and eating. Almost in that order. I'm most likely going to spend most of my time in the spa, and maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Because I look at it as, almost a spa vacation. I love going to the spa. I love getting massages and the facials and, the body treatments and all that stuff.
Well, and I also feel like with what we do here, you kind of have to be go with, we're doing, like even this week we got Flower and Garden, we got all these different things that we always have our schedules always so full. And I feel like when you get to be on a Disney cruise ship, yes, you have things to do, but it's like,
I can just, and I think if I had to doing a Transatlantic, I just think I would. I think that, I think I will. I think I will next year. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it, folks. Like I said, this was a kind of different thing in terms of talk about 2020, but we'd like to know what you'd like to hear us talk about in future episodes. Podcast at disunplugged.com or right below in the comments. But thanks for being with us, everyone, and we will see you again next time. Have a great week.